So there's a lot of bullshit on YouTube about building a new habit, and I have tried everything. And I'm here to tell you that you don't need to complicate this so much. I've been on self-improvement for the past 4 years, and in this journey, I have learned a lot from my personal experiences, books, podcasts, YouTube videos, etc. And I'm here to tell you that the process of habit building can be broken down into 3 easy, simple steps that if you follow, you are guaranteed to succeed. Let me show you how. Alright, so in order to build a habit, you need to first understand these 3 core concepts, and when you mastered these 3 concepts, you will be building and breaking habits in no time. Okay, so the first thing is a cue. What a cue is basically any outside or internal stimuli that is followed by the action that you're going to take. That is the habit that you're trying to build. Okay, so that's the first thing, the cue. Then there is the action or the act, whatever it is that you're trying to build the habit around is the act. This is very self-explanatory, so we won't expand on that. Lastly is the reward. The reward is what comes after the action, and this reward solidifies the cue with the action. Alright, so recently I had this phase of being like a complete loser. I was not eating right, I was not working, I didn't go to the gym, I didn't read anymore. And so I decided I was going to make some very, very drastic changes. I already knew what I had to do. I knew I had to rebuild my habits. I knew how to do that. I knew why I had to do that. So the theory part was very much there. But I just needed that little extra push. I just needed that extra little motivation. And that came from my little brother. When one day we were just talking and he just sort of said that he was really impressed by my work ethic and how hard I was working up until a few days ago, when he actually saw how I was behaving, like how I was being complete degenerate and loser. And he basically said that made him realize that the working version of me was just like a phase, that I was actually working towards something, and that when that was over, I just went back to being the older version of me, which was what he thought was being the degenerate Akshath. And that was enough. Him thinking that the degenerate version of me is the actual me was enough. And so I decided I was going to rebuild my habits, and I was honestly walking into a dark cave because I was doing the exact opposite things self-improvement gurus on YouTube would tell you to do. So these were like drastic changes, and they would usually, the advice online would be like start slow and then slowly get into it, and then give yourself time. If you fall off, try again, stuff like that. But I just went right into it. So first thing I did was I set up an alarm. The next morning I woke up as soon as the alarm rang. That was the cue. And I started working on my laptop. I just opened it up and started working on my laptop as soon as I woke up. That was the act. And lastly, when I was done with my work, I would sort of feel satisfied, and I would take a moment to embrace that satisfaction, and that became my reward. So this is how you solidify a habit. Okay, so these are the 3 things that you need to be careful, and you need to keep these things in mind. The next thing that I did was I decided I was going to start reading again. I did a couple of other things, but I'm not going to take too much of your time. These are just examples, so you understand how to do them, how to use the cue, reward, and act theory in practicality. Okay, so I decided I was going to start reading again, and so I would start reading as soon as I was done with the first block of work of the day, and that was the cue. So as soon as I was finished with the work, my brain would like get subconsciously would get a cue, and then I would start reading. That was the act. And lastly, I would put a tick mark on my habit tracker. That would be the reward. So the feeling of satisfaction that you get when you put a tick mark on the habit tracker, that is the. So just like this, you can also create your own cycles of habit. And fair enough, there were obstacles in the way. There were days when I didn't feel like doing certain things, but I quickly realized the problem, and you should too. There will be obstacles that will stop you from carrying out the habit every single day consistently, and you should remove as many of these as you can. You should identify and search for these things, and you should eliminate as many of them as possible. Okay, make it as easy for yourself to carry out the activity or the habit as possible. First thing was, there were days when I didn't feel like working out. I quickly realized that was because I had my lunch pretty late in the day, and that's when I decided that I'm not going to be eating past 3 p.m. Second, there were days when I didn't feel like waking up, and I realized that was because I didn't have a defined task to do as soon as I woke up. So I didn't have anything to wake up to. Like I didn't have a reason. So I decided to plan my days ahead a night before. So I would write down what I had to do, what the tasks I needed to complete a night before, so that I had something to wake up to. I would have work as soon as I woke up. Okay. And lastly, the reading was also not very enjoyable, and there were days when I would just shrug it off or just read a page and just leave it. And so I started to make reading a bit more enjoyable. I would lie down on the bed or sit down on the bed and make it as comfortable for me as possible, so that reading process was a bit more enjoyable. But you see, it wasn't all cakewalk. As you can expect, there were issues in the middle, and there were some problems that I couldn't solve. There was a big flaw in my strategy that I hadn't realized yet, and I quickly was going to. I thought that rebuilding my habits was the way to go, and that my strategy, my plan were going just as planned. But you see, I didn't plan for the unexpected. So the unexpected happened. I got sick, and I had high fever. And I don't usually get sick. The entire winters, I didn't get sick at all. I was showering with cold water and stuff. I didn't get sick at all. And now that it's summertime, I got sick. And I obviously didn't work out because I had a huge headache, and I ate whatever my mom made because I didn't have the strength to make something myself. I didn't work. Basically everything went to shit, and this phase lasted about 3 days. After these 3 days were done, I was so upset I didn't want to get up from bed. And seeing those red crosses on the habit tracker just made me feel so shit about myself. This was probably the biggest, darkest point that I had reached in my self-improvement journey. So I decided, or rather I thought, that I'd have to try again. Obviously I was not going to quit. So I decided I was going to start over, but with less drastic changes. And I was just like about to reassess my strategies. I was sat right here when the most unexpected thing happened again. I overheard my parents talking when my mother, I remember this, my mother said that we can't go out because he's going to be working all day again now that he's not sick. And I heard that. My parents were basically planning a day out. So my father said that we should go out. My mother said that no, Akshath's going to be working again. So that basically made me realize that both of them see me as the self-improvement Akshath. They see this version of me as the real me. And that basically shifted my mentality a bit. That made me realize that I'm not trying to become someone that I'm not. I'm trying to get back to being the person that I used to be, that I actually am. That is my core. And that was enough motivation or enough energy that I needed to carry out the rest of the process. So right the next day I decided I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to stick to it. I'm going to just hustle through it. So the next day I woke up on time. I completed all my chores, I completed all my work, I worked out, I did cardio, I read my book, everything. I did everything perfectly for an entire month. Today I woke up at 4:30 a.m. without an alarm, and I completed my work. I did scripting, editing, whatever it was that I had to. I read my book for 1.5 hours, and right now when I'm recording this video, it's 1:30 p.m. and I have only been working since morning. Other than reading, I've only been working since morning, and after recording this video, I'm going to be eating my first meal of the day. So this is my life now. I have changed it because I decided that I'm going to. And I was expecting failures and I was expecting obstacles, just like you should do. I don't have to force myself to do this because I'm unconsciously expecting a reward after this. Basically, I'm expecting a satisfaction after completing a YouTube video. So I also want to manage your expectations. Building a habit doesn't mean that you'll just automatically do stuff. Building a habit doesn't mean that it's going to be effortless. This is not effortless. It still takes effort. I still have to consciously get myself to sit here. I don't feel like doing it. It's just that your brain is going to resist it less. Okay, or not resist it at all. We're very far in the habit making process. Alright? I'm building a community of superior men. And if you think you're one of them, I'd like you to really become part of this family and subscribe so my videos show up on your home screen more often. and so that I can give you some sort of value in your self-improvement journey. I'll see you in the next video.